kid could be like with the plant and how to make informed decisions?
By us all getting on the same page education-wise, because I think that's a big part of it too, and us being able to advocate, be able to teach our people. These are the things that's going to always push us forward and always keep us relevant in this space. So I think that's the future of all of this, right?
It's okay to start to talk to the youth like with that. Let's unpack some stuff over a blunt. Right. Let's understand what this, and that's not what CARE is about, right? And I don't think we're not here to try to teach your kid how to consume cannabis. That is more about, hey, you need to understand this plant from an encounter standpoint, and so that's all a part of learning as well.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Empower716. So I have the pleasure to have two guests. I'm gonna have them introduce themselves and tell us where you are from. We'll start with you.
I am Reggie Keith from here in Buffalo, New York. I am the founder and CEO of Canna-House.
Awesome.
It's your boy Rich, man. Chef Rich, they call me. Buffalo, New York, born and raised. I'm also, again, CEO or owner of Highly Flavored, as well as director of strategic management of Dirty Products.
That sounds important, man. That sounds like big business there.
Pretty good.
So usually when I invite guests on, I kind of do some research and just kind of look at their previous interviews and so forth. And so I had Shine on here a couple of years ago.
Yes,
and I know we couldn't get you on here because actually when I started the podcast, we only had space for one person. And so we accidentally invited you. And we was like, well, tell them we're going to get them next time. I was like, we only got space for Shine. And I really wanted to have you in there because obviously I know all the great things that you've been doing and you continue to do. And so every time I get a chance to see what you're doing out there, I'm just like inspired, bro.
Thank you, man.
It's good to see somebody's passionate about what they're doing. And I know that there's a lot of challenges, and we're going to talk about some of those challenges to do what you guys are doing. But to do the work, because it's one thing to do, like we can all make ourselves look good, get the bling and everything else, and saying we're doing something. But then when you do the work, and then you be able to articulate it, and then spit it out, and then and execute.
Yeah, man. What I do is evolve so much, right? So I like to say I'm an artist. Cannabis is kind of my vehicle, right, to articulate myself. And Canna-House was the vessel that kind of got created. We started off, we actually wanted to be a delivery service. In the early stages before the MRTA was passed, which is the regulations we are now kind of figuring out, but the legislation that passed, geared by Crystal People Stokes, maturity leader. Shout out to the godmother.
Yes, I love
for sure.
Crystal is dope. Love her.
Super dope. But before that passed, I was actually one of the first people from the region that came into her office and asked her about starting a legal cannabis business. And I wanted to do delivery at first. It seemed like a good idea. I had a medical card. Only medical folks could touch the plant. I knew people that needed their medicine. I was going to get mine. Why couldn't I grab theirs and open a business, right? But that immediately had me understanding, no, by law, that was not legal. That was not legal.
Try, but
it was a good shot. It was a good shot. It was a good introduction to what was really to come, which is like a fluid situation with legal cannabis, and being able to kind of be like water allowed me to kind of pivot, right? And that was my original plan, and it started me down the path of, okay, well, if this isn't legal, why isn't it legal? Can I advocate for that? And so it took me to a path of advocacy, but also got my creative juices flowing. All right. So what it seemed like at the time is cannabis was in a gray area. New York was in a gray area. A lot of things weren't illegal. They weren't legal. So, if you had put your best foot forward and were a palatable offering, you really didn't catch much flack. And so that's the guys that we started under. Growing up in Buffalo, there's a ton of biker clubs all over the place.
Yeah.
So understanding that format of a private club, we started down the path of Canna-House becoming exactly that, a social club for cannabis, right? We're centered around cannabis-based activities, puff and paints, murder mysteries, cooking with cannabis. That's kind of our origin story of like creating dope spaces. We've kind of evolved now. We're more of a resource center for cannabis consumers in particular, but for folks who are just kind of curious as well, right? So we're all about education. Again, that advocacy is huge for us, advocating for the consumer. Creating those dope spaces is always going to be a part of us.
Right.
And then we have a product line, which that's where kind of Chef Rich comes in.
Right.
He is the kind of the brainiac in the hands behind the flavor of Canna-House and what we can offer, but really having the ability to talk to folks about how to safely consume, where to find safe products, and then practicing those safe practices as we are developing products. So that's kind of like what we evolved into.
Wow.
And yeah, our goal is to really, shake up the industry in terms of the status quo of what, Black representation looks like in cannabis. So we had to learn it, right?
Yeah.
So I was an employee my whole life. Like most of us, we had this employee mentality, waiting for somebody to kind of give me a manual for this thing, but we were literally building a plane as we were flying it. So the idea started, and we wanted to just have proof of concept.
Right.
Let's just do it. Can we do it? I didn't even know what it looked like to have a legal cannabis company, right? And so that started me to understand, all right, how do I have just a legal entity?
Right.
And so we did down through the research. Shout out to one of our original team members, Danielle, who really was huge in helping us early understand kind of corporate structure and how we should be setting the company up. And we formed an LLC. Those who are not familiar maybe with the limited liability allows us to kind of separate ourselves from, especially a business like ours where cannabis is involved, where they would qualify as high risk. You want to kind of separate yourself from who's responsible, who could be held accountable in that way. And so we started down the LLC path. It was a sole proprietorship. It was just me. I was by myself. I tried to bring my brother and Shine in originally, and they'll tell their story. Yeah, they was like rooting for me on the sideline. Go ahead, bro. I got you from over here.
Man. It was like I told him, man, a little earlier, man. It was tough, man. Shoot, I'm like, I'm big, bro. I got kids. You flying solo, so it was just kind of tough. But I'm really, really glad that he stuck to his dream and his path, because like I told you earlier, like it made all of us kind of take an appreciation for the plant, and again see what it can do if putting give the right opportunity, right education, and breaking down the stigmas that we can really bring this to our community and make money. This is generational wealth we about to come across, and this whole opportunity was based off him telling us, I'm telling you, man, y'all gotta be a part of this. And I'm like, man, I don't know, but I'm very glad we all stuck to the plan for sure.
So what made you click? Because again, sometimes, especially in when it comes from your family,
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, the part you missing on that story is, so we both were initially doing, again, our own entrepreneurial stuff. And like he said, he wanted to have a delivery service. I'm a caterer, chef by trade. And I was doing a party. He was doing the same party. So we pull up. They don't know we brothers. They're like, man, this is dope, man. I'm like, yeah, this is nice. This is nice. She's like, yeah, y'all should do business together. I'm like, well, that's my brother. They're like, that ain't your real brother. I'm like, yes, same mom, same dad. They're like, get out of here. So after we leave the party, we literally go outside and go, man, we stupid. So like from there, it was like, okay, now how we bring this full circle, and how do we like kind of really band these two ideas together and go from there. And then, like I said, once he got the structure from, like, Danielle went to school with me, so me and Danielle was already close. Shine was Reggie's like one of the childhood friends. Even though I knew Shine, I wasn't that close. I'm a little older. I'm 5 years older than those guys, 4.5 years older.
Yeah.
So we're just good to get around all of that energy. And once we got all together and the ideas started flowing, then Reggie kind of like shaped it. And now we're walking in these paths, and it's it's been great, man, so far.
And one of the things I know that people, when we start entrepreneur journeys, obviously it's like the solo piece. Like, let me start my own business,
Right.
Be the own boss. What is the challenges that you guys had to go through on getting to the point where you are now? Because the trust factor, family, friends, all of that is mixed in there.
So I'll tell you that I wish Shine was here because he could chime in on this too. So like at first, like we all, like you said, we all been employees all our lives, or at this point in life, and trying to level up and become your own boss, like you say. We all have our own ambitions of what that what that looks like.
Yeah.
Me and Reggie have already kind of a built-in trust because we are brothers.
Right.
Danielle and Shine, even though they were ancillary parts, they also had trust from different reasons. Because I mean, Danielle's cool because we went to school. They are childhood friends, as I previously stated. But the initial program that we had going on, which was meetings not at the time, is almost every, it seemed like every day. And me and Shine is like, hey, my man, I don't even know how to work like this, bro. Like, we were doing way too much. But I will say that those disciplines of having that meeting, now we don't have them like that anymore, to your point of how we got here, but we needed that. If we didn't have that and no structured points, we'd be all over the place. Because we were trying to do so much with so little. And we all got our own ideas of how we think we can get there, how we can get there the fastest, what makes us the most money fastest, when in actuality, that wasn't the way to get to this point. And that's kind of how I feel about that, but I'm sure...
he made some good points. He made some good points. But and it's funny to hear that because perspective, right? Perspective is huge. And so we always do this. We have like these kickback, feedback sessions where we grade each other's performances. And that's important because we want to know how each other really feel about what happened. Yo, did you left me hanging over there, bro? Or, man, you did amazing, bro. I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was going to do. You saved me, right? Those things are good for affirmation. It's also good to hold each other accountable when I can tell you face to face, yo, my man, that wasn't right? And so those are things that kind of got birthed out of like those growing pains, right? Communication was huge, right? Because again, we had all been employees. I had never been a boss, and I certainly didn't think I was the boss of my older brother, right? So even trying to get him to do things that I really needed him to do as the owner of the business was different from how to ask. Exactly, different acts, right? And so even developing that language and the tone of which those conversations are had was important from a leader standpoint. So again, to hear him talk about it from that way and from my perspective, it makes a ton of sense, right? See the synergy of that growth. But yeah, man, we went through it all. You name it in terms of like money management, bandwidth, understanding our no's, right? We were, just wanting to, be successful. You can kind of get in the habit of saying yes and not understanding how much that's going to stretch you. And we learned like none of us at 70% in 3 different places is what anybody wants, right? And so we had to figure out how to really hone in on what our mission was, what our vision was, what steps we needed to take to get there, and how we were holding each other accountable day to day on getting to that location, right? Are we getting there on that journey, or are you BS and you putting some shit in the game, bro, and now you holding us up, and now you holding everybody up, and also learning that we're a team, right? The individuality that the world had put in society had you like, yo, man, I did my part, fam. Hey, dog, man, holla at your brother, man. Yeah, man, your man Wallace. No, but we had to understand, you couldn't leave each other hanging because it's really all of us. And so, yeah, man, that is, I think, real on the job training, and I don't know if anybody could have prepared us for it.
No, for sure.
I love that because a lot of people miss that part, and especially in the beginning, like when you got to get to, like you talked about, the meetings, and you got to put the time in.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people don't do that. We can work together, but if we got to build, like you just said, that trust and that communication is such an important, especially in the beginning stage. So I love that. So the culture mindset of how people view cannabis is like, we had to, talked about it in school. People lost employment because of it. So it's a lot of the culture mindset of like, that's bad.
Right.
So now you guys are jumping into this business. How do you deal with that perception and all that culture shift of trying to get people to understand that now this is legal? This is obviously people have been doing it before, but how do you guys go through that? Yeah,
I mean, it's actually baked into like who we are, right? I like to call us Bridge. Now, I'm a Bridge baby. I was born in the middle of the decade, in the middle of the year, right? So I feel like I literally connect a bunch of different crowds. And so they'll tell you my best attribute, my best skill is kind of communication.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if we could, again, use cannabis as the vehicle, it started to allow us to start talking about a lot of issues that we have. And you tie it back into cannabis. And so it's all about the conversation you were bringing up. It's about the program that we're bringing to the community. I feel like that's how we talk to the community. I think a lot of what we learned is maybe before, when you me and my brother, before this, we tried to like do a business with some friends, right? A clothing business, which was cool, but that was an established industry. There was a lot of things that already existed. We had to comply to a lot of norms. And so when we came into this industry, unlike those things, we had to explain to our customer what we were doing, why what we were doing was valuable. And so at the heart of everything we do is like, let's educate before we start entertaining. Right, let's put some medicine in the candy because these people need to understand the value of this. Right, why is this priced at a different price than this, other than it's in a better bag? Right, right. What is the difference in this plant? What is the value of this? And understanding how to articulate our value really started to make it easier for us to break down a lot of those stigmas. And we're living proof. You know, we like to call ourselves cultural billionaires. And we walk around as authentic as we want to be in our Black selves, and that means a lot as Black men. Right. And so when we can do that in our profession and we don't have to code switch, it allows us to walk away the way you feel comfortable in a conversation with you and your boys. Yeah. Right. We try to make the room feel like that when we walk in and talk about cannabis. And that just breaks down a lot of those walls that got created by those stigmas. And then once you break down those walls, it's just a conversation at that point. Right. It's the same thing as talking about, man, why this food is better for you than that, or why you should use this medication over that. And once you break it down to that level, we're all just humans, just kicking it about shit that help us.
I want to talk about the authentic self, because obviously, you know, everybody's talked about working for someone and then going in. One of my dreams when I, like 20 plus years ago, was like, I actually, I can't think of the person, but I was like, I want to go to a job where I can just wear my sneakers or my Yeezys and just go, and I can go to a boardroom and just and be myself. And you realize, like, I'm learning things now, but in the corporate world, you learn about professionalism and what that is. And so you always had to, like, go up to the bar of how to be professional. And so I find myself, like, unlearning some of those things because if it's not you, if it didn't, like, if it wasn't my vibe, like, okay, why do I got to do this? So, and I love the fact that you said that, because I think seeing you guys doing what you're doing and just being yourself at it, and just being, you know, people have to adjust to who you are. So I want you to just, you know, I guess, chime in a little bit on that a little bit more, as far as how does that feel, what it, you know, and how do you help other people get to that authentic self in their business?
Jump in, guys. All
right, so that actually could fit perfect for me, because before Canna-House, I used to work on Wall Street. So just what you were saying about raising the bar and trying to be professional, that's all they preach to me all the time, because I was so gung-ho on being myself, my authentic self, everywhere I went, that I would still come to the office with a do-rag on. I wear sneakers to the office.
Take that off.
It was not having any of that, right? Any of it. And I was just like, but my performance is still the same. What I'm doing is still the same. This does not make me any less of who I am or the value that I bring to this company.
In fact, it's making me that guy.
The guy that's getting you those performances. You hired me because of that. I got a do-rag on. So me and Reggie one day was having a meeting, and my man who I worked in a company with, fat shout out to my man MJ Clyburn, he was the one who got me like that. I had to wear suits all the time, ties. I got sick of that. I mean, I got sick of it. So when we were having a meeting, and he called us, and I was like, "Yo, MJ." It was like a week after I done quit. I done quit working with MJ. I haven't quit because I could still. So I just switched or transitioned into working with Canna-House. And MJ called, and I was like, "Yo, bro, like Reggie over here, I get to wear my do-rags in meetings." And I told him, and he was like, "Yeah," but he said, "Yeah, I know, I get it. I know that's what you wanted. I respect what you're going, and I support everything you're doing." And that meant a lot to me, because, like you said, you can't show up like that as Black men. We got to go 3 times as hard because we Black men. You know what I'm saying? So to be able to show up your authentic self. So what you were saying before, I'm teaching my mother how to do that. So my mother, like, "Yo, God, you got to wear a suit to this. You got to wear." I'm like, I don't dress like that no more. So when I say that, people look at me crazy, like, "What you mean you don't dress like that no more?" That's not part of, like, that was my old life. Like right now, I'm wearing leisure wear. I'm wearing shorts. I'm wearing hoodies to wherever I feel comfortable. I could dress it up the way I like it. You know, I ain't got to wear a suit to the networking event. That's not me. I am not doing that. Not right now. I'll wear a suit when I have to, but not to the, come on, bro. I'm good. Come with chains on, smelling good. A little bit of reefer scent.
That's freedom. That's freedom.
It is.
You know what I'm saying? We got, especially as black men, we got to take our. We get it, man.
Yeah,
You
freedom and
hold on
with
to that freedom.
You gotta hold on to that,
expand it as much as you can. So I think that's a big part of wanting to just show up that way. And I think we got a responsibility. We're first through the doors of this industry. It's important that, you know, what happens 10 years from now will be a direct reflection of what we did or did not do, or how we did or did not show up. And I'd be damned if somebody look up and they like, yo, man, they said smoking blunts ain't even cool no more because, like, you can't even be rolled with the hoodies, you looking crazy. Like, nah, hell no.
I mean, that's the culture, you know what I mean? That's the culture.
It'd be great for them to look up and say, nah, man, one of the pioneers that I know, they walked around, they did it just like this. Now, that don't mean you get to, again, skip out on professionalism, right? And so that's the one thing we want to also do, show up and say, hey, I am authentic. And being authentic doesn't mean I'm lazy, because I'm not authentically lazy.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I work hard, but I also get jiggy and I chill and I smoke a blunt before I came in. I got to do all of that. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact, right?
Yeah, that's important. And I think it's important and I think just doing that helps push the narrative for other people.
Exactly.
I think we do it indirectly. And I don't think we're ever walking to people like, yo, man, you don't got to wear that no more.
No,
I'm not doing that. I'm not clothing shaming you. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I think it allows you to see it and go, nah, this is okay.
Yeah.
This is okay.
And that's breaking down the stigmas. That we breaking down stigmas, like you said, unknowingly.
Just doing it, being natural, being you, being yourself. And I was kind of telling him that earlier, like, yo, I seen the switch, I kind of told you earlier. Yeah. The man changed my whole family. The way they look at the plant. No, I'm for real. Like I said, we 5 years difference. So for me, I come from that dressing up all the time, interview this and that, being buttoned up. Like you said, you don't lose your professional because you're not in that. But I come from that world, so I get it more than any of these boys. Right. So when I see him literally change that narrative of my family, I'm like, oh, this is it. But he did that because he came in and I'm my authentic self. And I'm telling you what it is. It's not me, no hobby. This ain't me doing it because it's supposed to be cool. I'll give you education. I'll tell you where it come from. I'll tell you what it looks like, what these words are, make you want to go study something. You're like, oh, man, I ain't never know what a terpene was. This what this is? Oh, okay, this is why it smells like this and tastes like that? Oh, I want to know that. So these things is what, again, like you said, breaking down these doors and barriers and the stigma, because that's what it's really about in our culture. In black culture, again, we talked kind of earlier, y'all missed that, about church, which is funny because we laugh at that all the time. Like, you know, it's big, you know what I mean? So that kind of has a chokehold on our community in a good way too, but in a chokehold in this sense where that stigma, they kind of like the, I ain't gonna say the ones that started it, but it's a big part. It's a big part of their
responsibility.
Yeah, they got a big part in that. They play a big part in that.
The detriment of how people see the plant,
right?
For sure. The demonization of the plant,
right? For sure,
it's crazy.
Done by the church, by the black church in particular, for sure. I love them.
No, we had a good convo.
So no one, no smoke. But being a family, we gotta hold each other accountable.
Right. No, for real.
We do. That's what we do. Yo, listen, we gotta be able to look you dead in your face and say,
hey, my man.
Hey, yo,
that's wrong. You wrong. You know you wrong.
You're wrong for that.
You know you wrong for that.
Want to be a guest on our show? We're always looking for entrepreneurs, business owners, side hustlers, and career shifters that are willing to share their life and business experiences, strategies, lessons learned, and pitfalls to avoid with our listeners. If you would like to be considered as a guest on an upcoming episode, email us at Empower716@gmail.com. and include your contact information along with background information about your business and share what value you can add to our listeners.
I want to talk about where the industry is at now and where you guys are going. Obviously, I'm seeing, obviously, knowing that because this is something new. And where it's going, there's a lot of opportunity. Now you guys are obviously in it. You're going forward with it. How do you take the illegal business mindset, the trap houses set up in different places, and I always take it back to when I used to work with youth. Is, you know, I would come in, kids would come in and say, you know what, I smoke weed, or I sell weed. And so obviously, I tell people, you know, I sold weed for 3 weeks. Just wasn't my thing. I was bad. I was bad at it. Bad at it. But So I would recognize there were skill sets that those young people had. So I would never be the one to be like, yo, don't do that. Obviously I wouldn't advocate, but I was like, I just wouldn't say, hey, because I know you gotta make ends meet, whatever the case may be. How do you, or I guess, what are you guys currently doing, or what do you plan to do to help change that mindset of somebody who's like, I'm just going to set me a trap house and continue doing what I'm doing, or jump on this wave of legalize it and going forward with the right way?
Oh man, legacy to legal. That was a term that was like really popular last couple of years. But transition to legacy market, those who have created a pathway to see that selling cannabis is a viable business model. I give them respect. I pay homage to the legacy space. I think they're geniuses. It's important. Two things. It's not on all of us. A lot of it is on the state, right? To make sure that if they want a healthy market, because this is our perspective, especially mine in particular, is they need us. We already making it. This a lot of money. For the first time in a long, I tell people all the time, in what world does the person that loses the war make the terms? They lost the war on drugs. If the plant was a part of that war, and then now they giving in, and now they want to tax it and pay money, that would deem this as a lost battle. But they're here making these rules without really thinking about how to. If you really want access to that money, so they say they making this happen because it was like $500 billion on the legacy market being made, right? They need access to that money. I want in. Uncle Sam needs some of that. But what they're creating is a market for new cannapreneurs to come to the market. That's not going to transition the black market money.
Correct.
So you're going to have $500 billion still making money, and while you try to make $30 million and tax everybody crazy to try to get the results of the $500 billion, but you really just got $30 million in legal operations because you didn't make a path for those people who were making the $500 billion. Why would I be enticed by coming over here to come be getting taxed and getting compliant and have to do all of these rules and jump through all this to make 30% of what I just made in the streets?
It's a fact.
And I was doing that in the streets when it was jail was on the other side. Now y'all didn't legalize it.
Right. I'll get a fine. I'll get a fine.
You have to say more than do the right thing, my brother. So it's on the state. For real, they hold a big responsibility on transition. That for one. But two, it's also on us, right? We seen that and we said, all right, there's somebody gonna get rich at the beginning. There's somebody gonna get lit and gonna be the gatekeeper at the beginning, right? What does the makeup of that person, that group look like? And I think we had a lot of those attributes. And so originally we started out like anybody else, the individual plan of like, we're gonna just be a good business.
Right.
But as we started getting the responsibility of being able to get all these people together under the guise of a plan, we're like, we gotta do more than just have a good time. Right. And so it really started to be like, okay, well, what is our responsibility here? I don't know, man. It was, I don't know. It's been tough just figuring out what exactly, besides the financial enticement, brings the legacy market over, right? And because that's really the incentive. This is what everybody was doing. We've been feeding our families. We've been doing this because we needed to make money. And so if you ask me to come do this legally, you can't tell me I'm going to make pennies on the dollars of what I was just doing when I can just keep doing it. So, I mean, that's the dynamics happening. And I think what needs to happen, or what we're positioned to do, is to show example and then help affect legislation and regulation, right? So originally, the law is written. So that's tough to trying to get edited right now. Right. Changing law, we all know, is the Sixth Amendment still around? We know how hard it is to get stuff, changed, and that's in law. Right. But regulation in New York State, and in actuality, legislation federally is not written yet. So it's our job to get involved in the writing. And that's what we learned in this process is, if it's not written yet, you can affect that. We wrote actually dope that was we're talking about this today. We wrote a white paper about almost 2 years ago on rethinking on-site consumption, right? On-site consumption is a license category that you can roll out and apply for that allows you to have just that, consuming in this space, right? Originally, it was thought that they couldn't have like retail, it was basically you can house all these people to smoke, but you can't sell to them. And it was like, well, what kind of model of profit is that, right? And in particular, that was our groove. And so we originally saw that and was like, hey, I don't like that. We talked to the state, had a conversation. They said, well, write us a solution. And that's what we did. We wrote a one paper, wrote a solution. And we're actually happy to announce that today, regulation got announced. Shine doesn't know this yet, but regulation got rolled out today that retail and on-site consumption can now do that together. And so essentially we wrote law. You know what I'm saying? We wrote some legal language. And a shout out to Kaylin Caster and the Caster Group, because you need allies in this thing, right? We don't have the ability to do all this by ourselves, but taking that thought and letting somebody rewrite that into legal language that allows us to speak to those bodies that need to get that message, it helped. And so it's really, really important that you get involved in the process of things getting developed, so you're not just sitting on the backside going, oh man, I can't believe this is happening to us. Right. Like you could be a part of the happening. And so if you're part of the happening, that makes you more invested in the results. And of course, naturally, you want to get in and get the benefit of that. So that's how those legacy folks need to be, ushered over, right? The state need to do something, right? We got to change the mindset as current operators. And then we also have to push this message of, hey, there's more on the other side for us, if we get involved now. And that's how we really get to reap the benefits. Right. Don't just jump in there and be like, oh man, I hate these rules. Yeah. Well, you could have had a chance to affect them, you know? And then we won't be perfect. But I will say, on the other side of like it not making money, you don't have to look over your shoulder. Right? You could pass this down to your kids. You can actually hire people in your community, right? When they have a legal way to make money, right? You start to file your taxes and start doing it. You can start establishing a business credit, right? And there's ways of doing that. And so this is the opportunity that cannabis allows for legacy operators. And that's why I asked them to come over. But I'm reluctant to do that until we really have some regulations and laws that really speak to bringing my folks over here. Martin died going to his grave saying he thought he sent his people into a burning building, right? I don't want to be that guy. That's like, man, I just thought it was right, man. So I told everybody to come on. Like, hell no. So I said, hold up, y'all. I'm going to come back and get you, though, when it's right. I think that's where we are right now. Yeah.
Now, how do you guys, I guess, balance being in such a new industry that's kind of being written as you go, and kind of figuring out your longevity into this? Like, how do you trust the process?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, it's by faith. Yeah. We put, like you said earlier, we put the work in, so to see the fruits of our labor finally come to, full circle is great. But, seeing longevity, shout out to bro, his vision is what's going to get us there. Me, in my personal opinion, he has the vision. He's a visionary in that aspect, and by us all getting on the same page, education wise, because I think that's a big part of it too, and us being able to advocate, being able to teach our people. These are the things that's going to always push us forward and always keep us relevant in this space. So I think that's the future of all of this, right? And once we get to a point where we bring everybody, to his point earlier, I don't know about doing it. Once we get everybody comfortable with coming over, that's going to be the real legacy for us. It's going to say, man, did he seen it? We hopped on a little late, but we hopped on the bus and we pushed that agenda forward. And that's going to be the way we see ourselves 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's going to be the future of that. So those kids we helped out, they're going to, like you said earlier, we're going to be the business owners. They're going to be the ones hiring. They're going to be the ones millionaires off of this instead of going to jail for this same simple plant that's been going on for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. You know what I mean? So
with legalizing marijuana, will you see a difference in the coming years from what we see the juvenile 14-year-old being on the block, posted up, getting, selling dime, I don't know what it's called now, but
it's still dimes. There's still some dimes around. But
so how does that change? Like, will you see a difference in that because with being legalized and so forth in the coming years?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna chime in a little bit. I'm going to pass it to Shine so he can really talk about how we plan on steering the youth. But yeah, the transition of that 14-year-old is going to be tremendously different. Let's give it a 10-year span, right? You just got to think, right? And his little brother will maybe never see or understand cannabis in a legal state in New York. he won't know about going on Goodyear. Sorry, I mean, he won't know about pulling on one of these side streets. Yeah, he won't know about pulling up to some houses and going, to the back. So the expectation of what they want the product to even look like will be totally different. They may not even like smoking. Right, there's a health push right now. So that's an old school thing for us, right? In 3-4 years, a lot of products. Again, why we got into ingestibles, drinkables, and sauces and other applications of how you can consume, because that's the future. And so that 14-year-old, one, he might not even be, his product might not even be block sellable. So he still might be trapping or operating in the space, maybe even in a non-regulated state. But, his business model will be totally different in how he's moving around. And I think a big part of that is going to be what happens in how the legal plays out. But Shine, again, he pioneered the CARE program. And this is a big part of how he talks to his children, right? And the message that he, shares with them about how to have a relationship with the plant and what expectations are and how to encounter that. And so that's kind of how the CARE program came about. And I'll kind of let him share on that. But yeah, man, I think that's a big part of how the youth are kind of transitioning into this new version of them, better version of themselves. Yeah.
So the CARE program, I have children, 3 children. Araya, she's 4, Jackson's 11, and Valentino the 3rd is 16. And they always around Canna-House, coming to the shop. They around the weed. I smoke weed, but not in front of them. But they know about the plant, right? And my son's like, I want her for Canna-House. They always see what we doing. So we was just sitting around, and I was like, we got to do a program for kids.
That's dope.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to be called the CARE program. It's a play off the DARE program, but CARE stands for Cannabis Awareness Readiness Education. So it's not a prevention program. You know what I'm saying? This is the adaptive program. This is a, forthcoming program. You know what I'm saying? So we want to teach kids and help them understand or what it would be like with their first encounter with cannabis. You know what I'm saying? Like Reggie with me and him, when we all talk, I didn't have nobody tell me what indica sativa was. I didn't know what a terpene was. I didn't know if it was where it came from. I didn't know how much THC was in it. So we were creating a curriculum, maybe 9-10 weeks, with teachers and different, constituents of the city or people that are involved in the plan as well, like firefighters, police officers. And we want to teach the children, through different activities, as well as education of what it could be like with the plant and how to make informed decisions. Because we're not telling them not to smoke weed. Right. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to smoke weed or even indulge with the plant, please be as educated about the plant as you can be. Exactly. Whether you want to be a bud tender, because like you're saying, this industry is brand new and it has to sustain. Yeah. These are going to be the people that are going to sustain it. They're going to win with the jobs. Right. They're going to be the one, teaching the other people to how whatever they came from. So I'm saying, we got to teach them now. So that's the plan for the CARE program, 9 and 12 week program. So we're going to actually just start doing a shameless plug, some listening tours, to get the parents involved, because we know we need parents involved with this. Because like you said, it's about weed at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So we got to get the parents on board first, and some of them might need some education too.
Exactly.
No, they're going to need the education.
Exactly. So we got to make sure that this is a holistic approach to the plant from internally. That's a fact. So that's the whole outlook about the CARE program, and that's how we will make sure that the youth have a different outlook and have a different understanding about the plant, so that they can be able to be more fruitful in these times now when the opportunity is there. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey, what's up, Western New York? Did you know that Empower716 Talk Show is looking to promote and recognize young entrepreneurs in Western New York? You could recommend yourself or someone else to be acknowledged on a future episode. Nominees need to be age 21 or under, has a service or product that offers value, has taken steps to become an entrepreneur, and must be willing to come on the show and talk about their service or product if selected. Email us at empower716@gmail.com.
Want to stay up to date with Empower716? Don't forget to share. Click here in the right-hand corner of the video and follow button below so you can see the upcoming episodes live on your news feed. Find Empower716 on LinkedIn Live, YouTube, Facebook, and other audio platforms.
a snapshot, real deal. Now you put the package up real nice, right? Father, now your son plays ball because I see the pictures all the time with him saying, I want to being an athlete and I want to try cannabis. What is that conversation like?
My first question is going to be like, why do you want to try cannabis? So I can understand that he even understands why he wants to do this. Yeah. If he doesn't understand, then it's automatically no. You need more education. We're going to get there first. Then you can make a decision if you're going to do it. Because now you know, is this going to help my career or is this going to hinder my career? You know what I'm saying? So now you make the informed decision on your own because you're educated, which would be, this is why the care program is going to be in play. But this is the conversation I would have with my son. Being an athlete, you want to try weed, bro?
Yeah.
Why? Now, if he knows, now it's like, all right, how you want to do it? You want to smoke? You want to drink? You want to take an edible? And I'm going to do it with him as a connoisseur and a cannabis in an industry like leader. Like, I got you, bro. We're going to do this. And then I'm going to make the decision at that point. Oh, you did it. You're not doing it no more. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to be like, nah, because I got a bachelor's and master's. I raised 3 kids. Like, it's not like...
Now, in theory, that works. Now, let me just ask, and anybody else can chime in on this too, is that sometimes we find out our kids do things after the fact, right? So they bring and say, I don't want to tell, even though, you the cool dad, I can tell you anything, but then, maybe I don't want to tell him about me smoking. What's the conversation like? Because you guys are big advocates of it. So, I don't know if anybody else have kids in here. But...
So I mean, my kids are a little older, but if that was me in the same scenario, I would basically kind of like Shine said, I would ask these questions. But more than anything, if he said yes, I would probably would be like, okay, more than him just trying to try it out. Yeah, I need to see how did you feel afterwards. Let's have a discussion about how did it make you feel. Yeah. And then, like you said, is it going to, in his situation, hinder his career or that, right? Because you put in the work, or you learning about the plant, or you learning about anything that you're going to do or want to do in your life, or basketball in his case, that's not going to hinder you. You going to hinder you if you don't. If you decide to go down a narrow path, and this could be that way, but I hate when people say, cannabis is a gateway drug. It's not a gateway drug. Either you're going to try all these other drugs and you're going to become a drug addict, or you're not. That's just no. I mean, we laughing, but I'm serious. Cannabis doesn't do that. Like, you know what I mean? And
not at all.
And no drug really does that. That's why they're drug dealers, because they have to sell it. It's a product you have to sell somebody on taking. So you still have to make a conscious decision as someone who's going to use it to do that. Now you see the effects because we all are from the hood or a hood, and you go, oh, I don't want to be like this guy because this guy knows smokes crack. Yeah. This guy uses marijuana, but I still see him in a healthy light because he goes to work. He has a job. He said he has a master's in a bachelor's and a master's degree. So I can still do what I want to do and achieve my goals, even on this plant or this drug. So it can go either way. But I think more parents will choose this path if they get the education and learn more about it too. So right now, everybody is hands off because all they hear is the negative, or all they know is the negative, whether it's through TV or, as he said, any inputs you put in your life, they learn that through that. And all you hear is the negative. And we're trying to break off of that. And this care program will help do that. And that's why we need to hear from those parents to ask the question before we get involved all the way, so we can break those things for them too. Because they're going to be hesitant at first. I'm sure they are. Going to have plenty of questions about, man, I don't let my kid have no marijuana. Y'all crazy. But we like, no, it's going to happen. Like you said, your kid's going to do stuff that you have no idea. I still to this day, I'm 42. My mama has no idea that I've done these things. And I will take them to the grave. But, it happens. So we just want to make sure our kids and our youth are prepared when they hit these streets, man. Because these streets they're unforgiving. They're unforgiving. So,
And the reason why I really asked that question is because I think, as you guys talked about this care program, and I think some people perceptions may be like it's just a free for all, right? Like there's no value in what you're doing. There's no morals. There's no standards involved of this business, and that you just want everybody to just be sitting around the house and just smoking, and so my kids can just do whatever the case may be. So I think I hear that a lot too. Yeah. Like there's no structure.
And I think you hit on a good point in which you brought up, that the key to that is talking to your child, having that conversation, is exactly what you're saying is getting them to understand the plant. So when Shine says, when I say why, and do you understand the plant? What he really is saying is, well, what is this?
Yeah.
Why would you take this? Is it going to help you? What are the health benefits? Are you looking for something health? Are you looking for a solution for a problem in the health element that this plant can be a help to? And I think I love that it's a healthy option as well in the sense of anti-inflammatory. Is great for appetite. It's great for sleep. It's great for anxiety. Those are really true things, right? But I think there's also some unexplored things, right? I think our culture suffers from escapism, right? That's why we are subjected to drinking or alcohol or drug problems, because we're constantly trying to escape our regular existence, right? And so when you unpack that, you kind of see that there is some reasoning past just the cute, cuddly, this is going to help you health version, the CBD element or soft landing of cannabis, which is true, and it has that element to it, but it's also some real life stuff that this plant is helping people through. And in our community, we really see that, right? And I think it's okay to start to talk to the youth like with that. Let's unpack some stuff over a blunt. Right. Let's understand what this, and that's not what CARE is about, right? And I don't think we're not here to try to teach your kid how to consume cannabis. That is more about, hey, you need to understand this plant from an encounter standpoint. The same way you understand how to encounter poison ivy, right? You don't bump up against it. You're gonna make sure you're gonna understand. All right, how do I encounter this plant, right? And so that's a different element. But once you are admittedly consuming, then we have to have another conversation about how you have a healthy relationship with homeostasis, about balance in your life. Because that's, we got introduced to the plant on the old school tip. Let's smoke 6 blunts, play the game, smoke another 6 blunts. Like, yo, that is way too much. And how do you teach your youth how to have a healthy relationship with the plant? And just to smoke or to consume for balance. How about microdosing, right? If you introduce it to them at a 5 milligram or a dog walker, what they call dog walkers are small joints, right? If you take it in it's a 6 joint hitter opposed to a blunt, right? Does that change their desire to smoke as frequently or in that way? Are they looking for a different desire from their encounter? And so that's all a part of learning as well. While we're here telling and teaching, we're also learning. And that's an important thing that you're telling to the youth as well. While I'm giving you instructions, son, as a dad, I'm learning from you too, right? I never been 13 years old and weed was legal and my dad was putting me on. Right. I never been that. So you about to give me an experience that I never heard from either. Right. So, there's an element to that is collaborative in the learning experience. And I think that's the easiest way you cut through to the youth, because you make them feel valued in the conversation, and they feel like they are now adding to the conversation. Past I'm the participant that's being talked at, which is often, and again, if you put yourself back into your 13-year-old shoes, you know how much you hated that.
That's how you felt.
That's how you felt. And so don't let that adulthood trick you out of forgetting that there's a human connection that you got to make, because being right is overrated, right? Yeah. You could be right. Now, my parents were right all the time. We didn't want to hear that shit though. I don't want to hear it because your tone is wrong. You're not talking at me in the right way. And I think it behooves us as a group of black men who can identify with sports and how the other things society gave us to kind of like corral that energy, right? It's like, all right, how do we create that environment for them also to learn about cannabis the same way they learn about basketball, same way they learn about football, right? What does that look like? And let's recreate that and allow it to do that. And so I think that's a big element that will help with that too as well.
So many questions I got. I was listening to you fully because it was just like, when you think about what we were told is that a lot of in our culture is like you just don't talk about certain things. You never had to be able to unpack, or even people, only time when you mention like weed, you just don't do it. Don't do it. And it's happening behind the scenes and nobody's having that conversation with you. And that's real dope, because I think nobody talks about it. Just say, don't do it.
No, and I think that's what allows cannabis to be the vehicle for unpacking something totally bigger. Yeah. That's way bigger than unpacking, do I like cannabis or not, right? That is creating a comfortability within our culture, within our community to say, it's okay to talk about shit that we ain't talked about.
I ain't never have been in a space where my parents, and my parents did a good job, but my parent would say, why do you want to smoke this? Do you even know what it's about? That in itself, that's just like
that's groundbreaking.
I mean, that's the culture that we created. You know what I mean, amongst his organization, like you said, as black men, and me having kids. I just talk to my kids like you said, like they regular people, man. Yeah. I know I'm their father. They know I'm their father. I don't gotta act like that all the time. Right. So I try and make it as comfortable, and that's how I talk to. I ask my son, my oldest son, every week. Yo, you smoke weed? You start smoking weed, yo? And I'm dead ass serious. Yeah. But I said it's so. He's like, nah. But all my friends, and he's now telling me the importance of the care program, because he's seeing all his. He's like, yo, everybody smoke weed, but don't know nobody know where it's coming from. They don't know this. And he's like, yo, that program you're telling me about, we need that. You know what I'm saying? Of course, him and my nephew Keon not smoking weed. Of course, but
so they say.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a real thing, though, right? Even being the cool dad, like you said, even being the cool dad, like
they all our friends smoke weed, but not us.
Not us.
Trust me, I went through that too. My son did that. He did the same thing, and now he smoked.
I'm like, bro.
And if I look back, I did too. Right, we all. I told the same lie. That's why I know this is a lie.
Right.
But you got it.
But you got it.
I'm just gonna keep telling you the you're knowledgeable though. Right. And whether you telling me you making that decision and making that choice or not, all I could do is make sure you as educated as possible from this position, right? And his youngest son is going to probably get a more in-depth education than his older son, because again, at these stages, I ain't really trying to hear that at that point. How much can I sit him down at 17, 18 and drill into him that this is it going in one ear and out the other? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's a different element to delivering and teaching this message, and we're open to, again, adopting a number of things as we roll out care. We hope that we got a curriculum that is great. If we get in there and the students like, this ain't it, we changing that.
That's a fact.
You know what I mean? If we get in there and the parents is like, I don't like how he's we shaking that. And it's all adjustable, and I think that's important too for, again, the parents to feel in the community. This is our thing. It's us. We the ones putting it on, but it's our thing. Yeah. So we need y'all opinion. We need that impact. Because we might even need y'all financial help. So I got to make sure I ask you your opinion. If I'm gonna ask you for your dollar,
right.
You know what I mean?
And that goes back to what Reggie was saying about how the legacy could get into. Get it on the ground level. Get in where it really matters. Reggie thought about that when we were going for a consumption space license, and he like, yo, that don't work. I didn't even know what he was doing. He like, we want to write. I'm like, oh, all right. So we don't do stuff like that. So I'm like, write the paper, Reggie. And so he wrote it. I read it. I'm like, that shit fire. So when I heard he put it into the joint, and then it got indoctrinated, I'm like, yo,
that's dope.
That was like, yo, that whole, but being a part of that whole process, it's like what makes me believe that what we're doing is actually going to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's things like that. Forget everything else we're doing, because what we're doing right now on the outside, we've been doing that. That's easy. That's the easy part.
Right.
It's stuff like what Reggie was saying. I was like, I'm about to write some more.
This might start working.
I don't like that. Change it like this. You know what I'm saying? That is the journey that I enjoy. That is inspiring me to continue to go on with this. Like you said, we creating this. This is tough.
Ain't no blueprint.
This is tough.
Yeah,
this is one of the toughest. Y'all look man, this is tough.
Y'all look like you're having a good time at it, though.
Oh, it's I'm with my boys. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I want to talk about Arizona.
Hey.
Let's talk about Arizona and that opportunity. Okay. Why don't you shed some light on that?
All right. So we were able to be a part of the inaugural consumption park, first ever consumption park that took place in Arizona this year, Super Bowl weekend. It was a 15-acre park where we kind of were able to be the highlight. We were actually the lounge of the park, so we were able to put on kind of a dope, we called it a very intentional Black experience, a vibe, right? We're about the vibe, and we wanted to show up, again, authentically as we were. And the easiest way for us to do that is to create a comfortable space for people to enjoy, cannabis. And so again, our long-term play is that on-site consumption space. So this was kind of like a test run. Everything is beta testing for us, honestly. So we were able to see how we could effectively, host and curate something specifically for an audience that was, trying to enjoy themselves in that type of fashion. And so we loved it. We got a great response. We really think that the next one's in Vegas. I think we're really set up to kind of like knock that out the park as well. And we're really, really proud. Our biggest shining star of that is that we were able to take 7 budding cannapreneurs out there to the Super Bowl with us, and a mentorship program. So yeah, man, as we're learning and we're babies in the industry, but again, things are happening so fast, and we understand the value of having the complete supply chain look like us, right? It's dope that we are in this and stuff, and it's cool that a couple retailers are going to be doing that. But the upward growth we want to see as a community and as a culture, we won't see that unless we have a full supply chain full of us. So we wanted to find those who were really interested, had a desire, had a little bit of knowledge, and just needed a little push. We had learned so much stuff, and if we could like fast track those folks onto the path of licensing or just being added value adds in the industry, whether that was a partner, some of them found out that maybe I don't want to own the business. I want to go in and partner with somebody else, or, I might just want to do a job. And so, that experience was huge for us. In so many ways, I watched my team mature. I watched these guys really walk into executive behaviors, like I call it a lot, but like really execute in a way that, I don't think they even really saw themselves in that way. We've always been these executives. They've had these roles that, this director of product development and, strategic advancement, right? Right. These titles have been in existence for a while, but being in a position to execute like that allowed them to be like, oh shit. I got mad responsibility over here. You know what I'm saying? This thing don't happen. And again, it's all that maturation of I think us as, operators in the space. But yeah, Arizona was an amazing experience. We learned a lot, good and bad, right? We had some trials out there, right? Just getting supplies, right? Just dealing with folks who are organizing something that you don't have a hands in. So we just learned a ton of stuff. And we've been, like I always say, we've been building this plane as we've been flying it since our origin. A lot of about 70% of the plane is kind of built now. So we feel a lot more comfortable with our seatbelt on. But, we still are learning. And I think that was a huge, huge experience for us. But we hit the ground running afterwards, man. Again, the mentees really took a lot out of it. And in fact, one of our mentees actually just got approved for a card license. Shout out to my boy Mike Golden.
Shout out to Mike in Syracuse, New York.
Let's go, boy. Officially got approved for a cannabis license for retail. Nice. You know what I mean? To be one of the first 300 licensees to open up. And so, man, we're just proud of what some of these opportunities are affording us, in growth. We talk about all the time. I wish our financial currency matched our cultural dopeness. But in truth, if we understand how to leverage that, we are billionaires. You know what I mean? We don't go across the NASDAQ. There's no ticker for culture. But in truth, you look at this, you walk around, you being like this, articulate yourself this way. And this is high value. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And then so understanding that we have gained a ton of currency that it may not be fiat, but it absolutely is something that we can take value in and we can leverage and we can exchange that, right? We got a ton of plays that we're brought into and partnered with because of some of those things. And the Super Bowl was a huge notch in the belt.
Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures.
Sure.
It's dope.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I want to talk about the opportunities available for other industries. I remember watching a webinar maybe a few years back about the cannabis industry and what it means for real estate, for the accountants and everything. Can you talk about how do you get those sectors engaged in this?
Ancillary businesses. Ancillary, I tell people to think about it all the time. the people that got the richest during the gold rush weren't either people grabbing the gold. It was people who got the forks, the pitchforks, the shovels. Levi Strauss, if those who don't know the story of Levi, who came from the gold rush, right? That is a gene that lasted the tail of time because they just found the value that people that were trying to get this thing done needed something. And so understanding value, I think assessment of the industry is very, very important. Understanding where the holes are and then pairing that with your skill set. Right. And that allows, I say it all the time, I think the perfect solution to entrepreneurship is your experiences plus a new data input. So if you pair my experience as a communications junkie, right? And then, with my understanding of the new information, I came up with a consumption club. It allows me to communicate with my consumer base, right, in this way that I know how. Right. But I pair that with somebody with the marketing background from Wall Street, and he becomes a marketing guru in terms of how he sees the industry with this new data. Pair it with a chef, and he goes, oh, man, where you was thinking about just doing drinks, I could do sauces, I could do, you know what I mean? Like, oh, man. So, taking that new data and pairing it with your experience really allows you to see a full view of like how you can enter into the space. And I think that's how we got to position it to our community. Oftentimes it feels scary when you think about leaving and doing something totally different because you think you got to be a totally different person, but it's not true. In fact, you have a ton of transferable skills. Right, that electrician, right? You can go set up all the grow houses, bro. They all need electricity. That's a fact. You can be, I'm specific to this industry, right? I sell light bulbs. You can sell LED bulbs to just this industry. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a number of things that you accounting, but all these different avenues, security, right? These are all value adds that the industry needs, and oftentimes people like us. We talk about all the stuff that we doing, right? Yeah. You think I got time to find my own security? Man, if y'all come tell me what it costs for you to reset my security, right? So it's just tailor made for plug-in and collaborative growth, because a lot of times people don't have the bandwidth to create the whole infrastructure to stand up their business. And so Ancillary is, if not as important, maybe even more important than the actual plant touching businesses, because so much of how we're going to be received in the world, how we're going to have access to our products, how people are viewing us is going to be determined by these things that really have no plant touching functionality, right? Just even marketing, right? Facebook and IG don't touch the plant, but they determine how I can market to my community, right? To my consumer base, right? And that's how everybody's talking to each other now. So if I can't do it on social media, that ancillary business really becomes a detriment, in that way. Or you spawn some very creative ways of getting around that. And that's cannabis and this legacy spirit as well, right? We've been, you make the law, we find a way to skirt it. And I think that spirit continues with the ancillary businesses.
Wow, this has been a very insightful session, man. This is dope. I love talking to all of you guys. It's so much to learn. Like, I'm like, wow, so much to say. I'm like, wow. Final question I have for you guys. What's next? Anything upcoming that the audience should be aware of?
Our summer schedule should be up on the website. You should be able to catch that Canna-House.com. We got a slew of events this summer. Shout out to ConFest. We should be there, posted up. We got our appreciation bash. We're trying to bring that back this year. So we hope to see y'all all there so we can celebrate just some of our achievements and have a good time together. We got some rolling classes coming this summer. It's a couple of different things, man. And of course, CARE stands out. I'll let those guys chime in on that, and Rich can chime in on the products, man.
What about June?
The rollout of this, I'm not sure if it might have passed already. By the time we get this out. But the Dirty Lemonade should be on shelves. Look for that, and then Urban Jane's Secret Sauce as well. But yeah, man, just look for us to continue to be your reliable source for cannabis information, events, safe spaces. We want to continue to be that, most trusted source, especially in the state. But as we grow, man, we got some real contacts to start expanding products into some other states. So, we hopefully, if you guys are your guests from other locations, they can start to experience us as well in the near coming future.
So I can see you guys as like a legal connect, right?
100%. 100%. Absolutely. And if you hit me on Wednesday before 3, it could be illegal. I'm just kidding, OCM. Just joking, man. No,
any final words from you guys?
Piggyback on Red said, we're going to do something, again, with regards to our dirty products, when we get them on in those car spaces we talked about earlier, trying to get them out mid-June at the latest for our first batch there. I'm going to have some other classes coming up, do some more cooking classes. We were doing that during the pandemic as well as before. So that's something I'm intrigued in, getting back into doing that, being around the people. I think we also got the pink party. He forgot to mention that. That's coming up in August. Shout out to Stove and D. Wilson there. But yeah, I'm just just like I told you earlier, I'm happy to get out here, man. God's been blessing us, man. We just looking to keep knocking down these doors as we keep going on this mission.
For sure.
I'll just talk in regards to the care program. Look out for those listening tours. Parents,
for sure,
be looking out for the call to action to give us an email, get in contact with us, and look out for the dates. And be ready to give you input. We want to hear from you guys. These are your children. We are the experts in the cannabis industry, but they're your vessels. We want them to fill them the correct way, so let us get all the information from you. What you don't like, we'll talk about that when we get to your sign up, man. I really need y'all, and they made it, more prevalent to me today on our team meeting how important you guys are. So I want to make sure that I really get in contact with you guys. So parents, be on the lookout for the listening tour, calls to action for the care program, cannabis awareness, readiness, education.
Yeah, and thank you, man. Thank you for having us, dog. This is a dope conversation, man. We really enjoy when we can just have a comfortable convo about cannabis. We do it all the time internally, but it's good. It's good to hear you ask some really poignant questions, things that matter, things that help us kind of like get our message across. So I really am thankful. I think we are all thankful for the platform. You know what I mean? Creating a place for our voices is hugely important. And so I say it to you, if you ever need us back for anything, please don't hesitate. And anybody out there that's listening, if y'all want to get in contact with us, you can hit us info@canna-house.com. Just put what you need in the subject matter, and we'll certainly get back to you about how we can, be of help to any kind of, conversation that people are having around cannabis.
I want to say, well, thank you guys for taking the time out. I know you guys are very busy, and so I never, when I invite people on the show, I always like to learn. Is when you get to a position in your life where you stop learning, it's the end, right? And so I always find people to invite them into a space where I can learn from them. And I just want to just say to all three of you, you just continue doing what you're doing. It's dope to hear. I mean, this conversation was really like enlightening, educating, and I'm sure the audience will feel the same as well, because I think, especially when you see people who look like you, and I know that the journey and the trial that you guys are getting to where you are. I remember, Shine was, I think in 2021 you came on and you were still kind of going through there. And obviously with this being a new industry, as we talked about before, how do people take you serious? And so I think Shine came on, and then I ended up watching the video, some interview you were doing, and I was like, it's one thing to always to have people not take you serious, especially when you get into talk about cannabis. Oh man, that's just why are they doing that? That's wrong. But to know that you guys are not only the skill sets all of you bring to the table, the advocacy, going up to Albany and understanding the business, and to see, like, I see the potential all in this room. That's what I see.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
That's inspiring. It's more than like when you hear somebody just talk about certain things, and you're like, But to see that where you guys were a few years ago and where you are now, and not just saying we're just trying to get rich, we're just trying to get the money. Now the money is good.
It's going.
Money is good.
Money definitely on that agenda.
Money comes.
Let me be clear. We definitely out in the bag. But yeah, no, for real.
But you guys are. It's not like you picking up and you. It's like we talked about earlier, being professional. Like something when you work for a job, you got to be like, okay, here's a company policy. But when you create it and when you trying to guide and everything, it comes from the heart. Like it just comes off authentic, and you're able to speak to it, and so that means a lot. And I'm just really excited about where you guys are gonna go in the future, man. It's real dope.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, don't forget to follow us on Instagram.
No, man, this is dope. This is a great experience, man. We really do appreciate it, man. This is good. This is good.